If you've been struggling with DFS MMA, you're going to want to check this video out because this will help. Today we are talking about Slate dynamics. And what that essentially is you're going to want to strategize dependent on how the makeup of the slate. And looking at each slate, which is the fight card, I like to look at three variables. Well, two of them are supplementary to each other, 1A and 1B, and then a third independent variable here. 1A I like to look at is how many fights are on the slate. 1B is how many wrestlers are on the slate and the strength of the ITD lines, which is inside the distance of the fight card. Finally, the third variable that is independent of the first two is how many live dogs do we have on this slate. Variable number one, which is variable 1A, is how many fights are on the fight slate. And this is important because it's essentially a numbers game here. The more fights there are, the more fighters there are to score higher north of 100 points, and this will give us a high scoring winning lineup. The reason why it's important to know this is because you want to strategize around this. In this case, you want to pick high ceiling fights and fighters. This is often very high. Think about high risk, high reward. It's a lot of first round finishers or bust. Also, wrestlers tend to score high, so you do want to prioritize wrestlers and first round finishers in these high fight slates. And on the opposite side, a low fight slate, this will give us a low probability wise, a lower scoring winning lineup. And in this case, you want to prioritize win equity. Just a simple win, there's a better chance that will make the winning lineup. So for example, a fighter who goes to decision and scores about 65 points, it's not great, but in a low scoring winning lineup, that can make the optimal here. And so the way I gauge whether it's a low fight card or a high fight card is the number 13. 13 is about average of how many fights they put on the fight cards. Anything above 13, it's high. So like 14, 15 is on the higher side. Anything below 13 is like 12 and 11. Sometimes 10. Sometimes we see 10. So many fights drop out at times, and we'll see 10 fight cards. That is on the lower side. So again, the way I gauge the number of fights is 13 is average, above is big fight card, below is a smaller fight card. The supplementary variable to the 1A is 1B, and this is the strength of the ITD lines as well as how many wrestlers do we have. The wrestlers, the reason why I like to look at that is because wrestlers tend to score higher. The scoring system favors wrestlers, and the ITD lines, the scoring system also favors fighters who finish their opponents. So again, this is supplementary to the first variable. This would give us an indication of how high the winning lineup will score as well. And finally, the third and independent variable is how many live dogs there are. A live dog is considered a 2-to-1 or better underdog is a live dog. And what this indicates for us is the more live underdogs there are, the more options we have at cheaper prices. Because if you look here, this is for this upcoming fight card. The underdogs are priced at 8,000 and below. And this will give us an opportunity to leave salary on the table. And that's important because leaving salary is one way to get different from the rest of the field, and having many live dogs give us the opportunity to do so. To finish things off, I'm gonna give an example to give this some context. This is the upcoming slate, the Tapura and Emmett going down this weekend. This is a 14 fight card, so this is a bigger fight card. There are 12 live dogs here, so there's many live dogs. So and there's 4 wrestlers, which is pretty decent. Again, wrestlers, I consider somebody who has a takedown upside, somebody who averages more than 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, and we have 4 of them here. Inside the distance lines are pretty decent. I like that there's a good amount of them that are above 50%. We even have some in the 80%, 76. So it's decent, not that great. A little above average, I would rate that. Taking into consideration all those variables, I'm going to be prioritizing high ceiling fights because I expect this fight card to have a high scoring winning lineup. So this is a high risk, high reward strategy here. So I'm going to prioritize the ITD, the high ITD fights, which in this case is the Tapura fight, the Cody Brundage, the Justin Tafa. So if you hear those fighters, you see they're like either going to knock the guy out or they're going to get knocked out. I'm going to prioritize the wrestlers as well. As far as salary, this is going to also allow me to leave salary on the table because look at how many dogs I have available to me. And finally, volume, how many lineups I'm going to play. Since it's a big fight card and there's a lot of fighters that are viable options here with the live dogs, this is a good one to max out contests depending on your bankroll. 150 maxers or 20 maxers. This is a good contest to go high volume here. The opposite of this would be a low fight card. So say there's like a 10 fight card and say there's only like 3 live dogs. In that case, it's going to be a bit difficult to get different. So I would chill out on the volume. If you do decide to play GPPs, go lower volume than you would normally go. And usually those are catered more towards cash lineups because in cash lineups, getting different doesn't really matter there. As far as slate dynamics, those are all the variables I like to look at. I am done.